You think they could tell that I wasn't really saying it? Yeah, I guess because my mouth wasn't moving there. But anyways, I think our intro music is done playing now. I'm Ryan Tofil. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on when you're listening. This is Unpopular Opinions.
Episode
300.
Nice. Milestone episode.
Yep, the tricentennial. Okay, Brian, so I've got this article here. 15 of the funniest stories ever told by the internet. And we're going to have to decide. So I've read like most of them, but we're going to have to decide which one of these is the funniest and if we think they're true or not.
Okay.
Okay? Let's write. I don't know what the source is because I've got it on paper here. But Smosh.com just compiled what they called the 15 of the funniest stories ever told by the internet. Let's write. There's a bunch of L's there. I almost got arrested when I was 7 because I was putting that fake snow stuff in plastic sandwich baggies and giving them to all my friends, and more kids would come to me asking for snow, and one of the kids' parents found it, and boy, there's no period in here. One of the kids' parents found it, and they thought it was cocaine, so they called the police on us, and they literally thought a 7-year-old girl had created an underground drug distributing system.
That's pretty funny. I mean, I don't know how true it. I mean, I could see 7-year-olds selling fake snow in little baggies.
She just said that she was giving it out. I don't know what fake snow stuff she's taught. She says it like it's something that everybody knows, but I've never seen fake snow like that's readily available.
Yeah, actually, now I think like fake snow. When I think of fake snow, I think of like the stuff out of a can.
What?
Have you ever seen that? It's like a spray. You spray it on Christmas trees.
No.
Yeah, it's like fake snow out of a can. I just assumed she was like spraying it into the baggie and selling it or giving it to her friends.
Okay, so funniness level 1 through 10.
Yeah, like a 3.
Okay. Probability that it's true out of 10.
Probably like a 8. I could see
8?
kids. I could see kids doing that.
That's pretty high.
Well,
that means 80%. That means like most likely it's true.
Yeah. Well, okay. The arresting thing is a little sketchy. Like I'm not a cop.
I mean, she says almost got arrested. So I guess if your definition of almost got arrested is like closer to being arrested than you would be if you were just sitting at home alone, then yeah, I guess she almost got arrested.
Yeah. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be anything like particularly outlandish about that story.
Okay, Brian Chai says it's the most reasonable and true story he's ever heard. Okay, so this next one, the name's blurred out, but during lunch at work last week, I ate 3 plates of beans, which I know I shouldn't. When I got home, my husband seemed excited to see me and exclaimed delightedly, "Darling, I have a surprise for dinner tonight." He then blindfolded me and led me to my chair at the dinner table. I took a seat, and just as he was about to remove my blindfold, the telephone rang, and there's a little phone emoji in there. He made me promise not to touch the blindfold until he returned and went to answer the call. The beans I had consumed were still affecting me, and the pressure was becoming unbearable. So while my husband was out of the room, I seized the opportunity, shifted my weight to one leg, and let one go. Believable so far?
Totally.
Okay. It was not only loud, but it smelled like a fertilizer truck running over a skunk in front of a garbage dump. I took my napkin from my lap and fanned the air around me vigorously. Then, shifting to the other leg, I ripped off 3 more. The stink was worse than cooked cabbage. Keeping my ears carefully tuned to the conversation in the other room, I went on releasing atomic bombs like this for another few minutes. The pleasure was indescribable. Eventually, the telephone farewell signaled the end of my freedom, so I quickly fanned the air a few more times with my napkin, placed it on my lap, and folded my hands back on it, feeling very relieved and pleased with myself. My face must have been the picture of innocence when my husband returned, apologizing for taking so long. He asked me if I had peeked through the blindfold and I assured him I had not. At this point, he removed the blindfold, and 12 dinner guests seated around the table with their hands to their noses chorused, "Happy birthday." All right.
That one's pretty funny.
That's very funny. Do you think it's true?
Oh man, no, because who eats 3 plates of beans? Like I like beans, like baked beans or whatever.
That's the problem you have with this story, is the bean consumption. You can't believe that somebody ate beans.
3 plates?
It's not that the fact that 12 people were sitting there perfectly silently. It's the fact that this person ate beans for lunch that you just can't wrap your noggin around.
Well, it's like, okay, so it's like a surprise dinner party. I guess. I mean, okay, so if you were one of those 12 guests, you wouldn't say anything.
There is no way that you would be able to keep it together while watching this unfold. Like, just imagine being one of those dinner guests and watching this.
Oh, man. I guess.
Okay, so funniness level.
Like an 8.
8?
That's pretty. I laughed. That was a good one.
Probability that it's true.
Like a 4.
A 4? Okay, that's way higher than I would have given it, but
what would you have given it?
Like a 1 or 2. Like,
you
there's
just can't believe that people
no...
wouldn't do anything.
12 people all witnessed it, and not one of them even giggled.
Oh man, I mean, like, it's like you have to keep quiet for the surprise party. You
Well,
wouldn't.
she kept farting, so I'm guessing nobody said anything.
Maybe you're right. Maybe that is just too much. Like,
Yeah, it sounds like a scene out of like one of the scary movies or something.
Yeah,
like just kind of like a bad comedy, or not bad. Maybe something that's like hit and miss, but like a Napoleon Dynamite or like a scary. Nah, Napoleon Dynamite's got to be way lower budget, but maybe like one of the first scary movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Frickerstein says, today in American Lit, a kid fell asleep and my teacher... Oh, I can't see it because it printed out the header on this. Okay. Today in American Lit, a kid fell asleep and my teacher motions us to follow him, so we all left the room and he changed the clock so it was like 6 p.m. And like 10 minutes later, the kid ran into the hallway with his backpack and we were all sitting at the end and he just sat down in the middle of the hallway and started to cry.
That's a pretty funny prank. Like, if true, I give props to the teacher, but believability? I guess I can kind of believe. I had teachers who pulled pranks on me, like, similar to that.
Yeah, I don't know if like 10 minutes for this kid to wake up, that's probably what I would say is on the shorter end for him to wake up undisturbed. So is the teacher really willing to wait, like, what could potentially, like, is he going to get everyone out?
Yeah, that's if they're sound enough asleep where they don't notice the entire class kind of shuffling out. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Because, like when you're, I mean, I remember in school when you would pull the school chairs out on the types of like linoleum floor.
Yeah.
It would sound like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, that one's probably not that believable.
Man, I'm starting to lose faith that any of these actually happened. I am pretending that I'm dead, ? Help. Hey guys, my name is Courtney and I am 17. So there's this girl I hate named Amber who had a big party and I went. We got into a huge argument and I left and went into the backyard to get away from her. She followed me outside and was arguing with me and stuff, and then out of nowhere she pushed me so hard. She grabbed me and tried to take me down on the ground, and she climbed on top of me and was choking me and smashing me onto the ground. I pretended I was unconscious and she was freaking out. She picked me up and started dragging me even though I was awake. I was just pretending to be unconscious. Not the greatest grammar here from Courtney. I'm having to wade through it before I peeked and saw she was dragging me toward the pool. I took a huge breath I took a huge breathe, she says. I took a huge breath, and she held up my body besides the water, and she threw me into the pool. I did the dead man's float, and I held my breath as long as I could. Then I turned around to breathe, and Amber was gone. I heard her coming back, so I quickly started floating again, and then someone grabbed my leg and pulled me out of the water. It was Amber and her boyfriend. I kept pretending to be unconscious. Amber said she threw me in the water to get off any evidence that was on me. She said I was in the water for about 10 minutes, so I'm probably dead, and she checked my pulse, and I kept pretending I was unconscious, and that idiot couldn't find anything and assumed I was dead. I saw my cell phone on the ground. It fell out of my pocket before Amber threw me into the pool. They left for a second, so I turned on the voice recorder, and I put the phone in my pocket. They dragged me across the grass around the front of the house, and then they lifted me up and took me upstairs and put me in the closet in Amber's room. When they left, I got out and dried myself off and didn't leave any clues behind. I climbed out of Amber's window and went home. Help, what should I do?
All right, that's the idea of trolling someone like that's kind of funny. I don't believe that story at all. Like, that seems almost impossible.
That seems more impossible to you than the woman getting off tremendous farts with 12 people around her at dinner?
Yeah.
Okay, I just need you to visualize this woman
Okay.
letting a few rip,
Okay.
like leaning over to the side as she's clearly lining up a few more,
Okay.
and then fanning the air. You're telling me if you saw somebody fanning the air around you like that, that you would be able to not laugh, to not snicker, to not move anywhere, because this lady claims that she could hear her husband in the other room on the phone.
Okay, fair enough.
And,
the more you...
and if she could hear her husband's phone conversation, if these toots were as loud as she says, her husband would have heard.
All right, fine. You may have won me. Okay, so that one may be a little more unrealistic now the more I think about it. But the one you told about Courtney is just, no.
Okay.
No.
It's not that funny either.
Yeah.
Get off, Courtney. Okay. This one is mostly blacked out because of the language, I guess, so it's hard to read. Holy cow. So today in class, the weirdest stuff happened. A bee got into my class and everyone was freaking out. So all of a sudden, this kid goes, "I got it," and he pulls a rubber band and shoots it down in one try. My teacher just stood there. Nobody knew how to react. Son, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. That was someone else's comment on it.
Oh.
But do we think that a kid could nail a bee?
No. That seems almost... I mean, that's like that old, like, Chinese stereotype of, like, kung fu masters plucking flies with their chopsticks. Like, I don't buy it. That seems impossible.
Well, if you're telling me what's true and not true about Chinese culture, then I'll listen. One time in 8th grade, we had a school assembly in the gym, and for some reason they gave each kid a glow stick and then turned off the lights and expected us to act like mature young adults, but they forgot we were in junior high, so everyone immediately started freaking out. This, here, just for the people who are watching on YouTube, look at how long that is. There are no periods or commas in that. It's like a quarter of a page in 12-point font. So everyone immediately started freaking out and screaming and throwing glow sticks at each other, and then the lights came back on and the principal ran out in the middle of the gym looking super angry, waving his hands and shouting, "Don't throw glow sticks." And basically, all 2,000 kids in the gym suddenly had the same telepathic mental connection because, I kid you not, literally everyone immediately started hurling glow sticks directly at the principal. And I just remember laughing blissful unicorn tears of laughter as hundreds of glow sticks flew through the air and bounced off the principal. And then the kid next to me got so emotionally overexcited he broke his glow stick in half and drank the liquid inside and had to go to the nurse for drinking a glow stick.
Okay, the idea of a dumb kid doing that's pretty funny, but I don't know, man. When I wasn't like the most obedient, student in high school, but if a principal looks, pissed and tells me to stop doing something, I'm probably going to stop doing it.
Yeah. I mean, unless there are 1,999 other kids.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like
a mob
you're going to get
mentality.
singled out.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have two super similar experiences to this actually. One is we used to have these things. I don't know if they were like pep rallies or whatever, but some of the teachers would play like scooter soccer. I don't know if you ever did that, where those little like super dangerous scooters that were like 2 inches off the ground and they just had four wheels on like a brick of plastic or wood.
Okay.
And you could only use your legs to touch the ground, and then you'd kick like a beach ball when it came near you. Those things are brutal, man. My brother actually had his front tooth knocked out when somebody hurled one of those across the ground, and he was lying down and hit him in the face. But so we were doing one of those at the pep rallies, maybe like 10 teachers against 10 kids, and then so one of the teachers, who was also the baseball coach, like took out one of the students, and they started like play wrestling, and all of a sudden the stands just started flooding onto this mosh pit. And I went to a small high school there. Maybe there were like 50 kids per class. So maybe we got up to like 30, 50, 60 kids in this like huge dog pile. And the middle school principal came out and he was furious. Boy, did we get a talking to. That we would have the audacity to, but like these kids are 13 to 15 years old, and you give them opportunities like that, I can see them taking it.
Maybe. Now, I've never been able to. I've always tried to break open a glow stick. Do you believe that? Like, have you seen that happen?
Yeah, I think that could happen.
Okay, fair enough.
But when I was in 10th grade, I was in the art wing a lot because I did like an independent study in graphic design. Mm-hmm. I loved graphic design, and I took as many classes with it as I could. But the computers were in a room that also does like oil painting and watercolors and stuff like that. So I was doing. I was in there for my independent study along with a watercolor class, and somebody gave me $1 to eat. Man, I wish I could remember what it was called, but it was it was either like paint thinner or thickening product.
Oh my God.
And there was like some of it dried on the side of the can, and somebody bet me $1 that I wouldn't eat it. So I did. And I had to go to the nurse. I had to go to the nurse, and they called poison control and stuff. I was perfectly fine. But then another thing like that, geez, it was actually in the same school year, so it must be they thought I had like a problem or something. We were doing this experiment in earth science class where it was testing like how many balls of like different densities and sizes you could fit into a tube, and basically just saying like the order mattered. Like if you put the biggest one in there first, then the smaller ones would fill the gap, and you could get like more mass in there. So I ended up with 2 of the small ones in my hand, and without thinking about it, just started chewing on them. I always do that, like an oral fixation, whether it's pens or gum or my fingernails, unfortunately. Like I'm always just like chewing on something, and I accidentally swallowed those beads, and I had to go to the nurse, and I ended up getting 2 4:00 detentions, which normal detention you only had to stay till 3:15, and you had to do something really bad for these 4:00 detentions, and I thought that was like it was a complete accident. I just absentmindedly put them in my mouth and accidentally swallowed them. And I got 2 4:00 detentions, which is like just a baby step away from a full suspension. I was hot. I thought that was freaking unfair. But that's what happened. This one I can believe.
Fair enough.
Not that funny.
Yeah.
Except for the kid next to me got so emotionally overexcited. Just that image of a kid that just gets like so overwhelmed that he doesn't know what to do other than to drink the glow stick liquid. Dovel bun.
Dovel bun.
Right. So when I started my sociology course in college, my teacher started us off with, well, I guess we have to do icebreakers. I'm John, and I fear bears. Why do I fear bears? Because bears can run at 30 miles per hour, and Chester Zoo is 30 miles away. That means a bear can be outside this door in an hour. Why would a bear be here? Because I can smell fear. Because they can smell fear, and I fear them. 10 out of 10 believability, 1 out of 10 on the funny scale. That's something that sociology teacher would say.
Yeah.
The funniest teacher I ever had was a college sociology professor.
Well, I don't think I took any sociology classes in college. Like, what do you even tell? Maybe they just called something different.
It's like just a study of how your behaviors influence the actions of other people, and other people's thoughts and actions and opinions influence your decisions.
Yeah,
like one of the things that I still remember in there is we learned, and he had really good examples, so it stuck with me. But think about, whenever you're trying to impress somebody, you make something seem either really difficult or really easy. Just kind of like, it's your nature when you're telling a story. You're not like, yes, this was of average difficulty for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, oh, I'm taking these, 45 credits in one semester, and it's really not that bad, yada, yada, yada. Like, I can handle it. So that somebody's like, oh, okay, like, you're so impressive, man. On the flip side of things, you would come home from school when it was just like an average day when you're in middle school, and you got your huge backpack, and you're to your parents like, oh, I can't believe they'd give me this much work, and you got like 15 minutes worth of homework.
Yeah.
And you just be like, oh, this is unreasonable, and I've got to go to my room and I got to study all night. In reality, you're just playing Final Fantasy 3 all night. So in a situation like that, you make something seem harder than it really is, so your parents will be impressed, like, oh, little Brian's trying so hard. So proud of him. Hamish Blake shots. I grew up on a ketchup... I almost don't want to read this. This one's so stupid. I grew up on a ketchup farm in Mississippi. We would go out all day and dig up bottles of ketchup, then sell them by the side of the road for 10 dimes, which most people call $1 now. It wasn't until I was 18 that my pappy told me there's no such thing as a ketchup farm. He was buying those bottles in town and burying them in the middle of the night just to give us something to do the next day. They cost him $2 a bottle. So we were losing a solid $1 every bottle, plus the time spent digging them up and him sneaking out every night to bury them. After I found out, I moved to New York City to become a jazz dancer. I became a hit and danced privately for many well-known celebrities and world leaders. I would sometimes dance quietly for Einstein in his study. He said it helped him think. I was dancing softly in the corner when he came up with the E equals MC squared stuff. You seem quite young to have danced for Einstein, says someone else. You're very kind, young man.
Okay.
Not that funny. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not that funny and not that believable at all.
All right, this one's in all caps.
Yes.
So I feel... Yes. Yo! So look, the first time I ever got on this ride, I was with a white family, and white folks crazy, so they don't fear roller coasters or death in general. After about 10 minutes of telling them that I didn't want to get on, I finally said yes, because I ain't never been no B word, and I didn't plan on starting that day. When the engineer said, please lean back and keep the back of your head pressed against your seat, and I saw everybody stick the back of their heads to the chair, I knew that I made the worst decision of my life, because I even saw some black folks listen, and you know that when black people listen a white lady's advice, it's the real deal. So my first mistake was refusing to press my head against the seat. The ride takes off and my dome slams against the chair while my neck snapped. Unconscious instantly. When I woke from my 3-second slumber, we had reached the very top of the ride where the ride makes a quick pause. When the ride makes that pause, I opened my eyes because I thought the ride was over and we all made it safely. Boy, was I wrong. I opened my eyes and the only thing I saw was a 300-foot drop straight to dug ground, so I said, God, you can't let me die like this. I think I suffered a heart contusion because my heart just completely stopped beating. And then that ride takes off again. We make the 300-foot drop and I scream my lungs out as I'm scared to death because the only time a human should be that high into air is when their spirit is being sucked into heaven by the grace of God. So we safely make it to the end of the ride, and when I get off, I stumble out of the seat because my legs went numb and all the air that was sucked out of my body, so I couldn't talk either. The first thing these crazy mother effers tell me is, hey man, let's do that again, that was wicked. I looked at them and I realized that this white kid that I befriended was actually Satan. I no longer have any white friends.
I mean... The only parts I found funny was just your oral, the way you recited it. I mean,
I just read it like it was written exactly.
I believe it. I mean, I believe it happened. Like I remember when I went to Disney World. There's a ride there called Mission to Mars, and it's supposed to be like pretty intense. Like they have like a intense one and like a not as intense one. And of course, I went with my wife, then just a girlfriend. And, you know, I want to seem cool and tough because she likes rides like that. I do not. I get motion sick just from riding shotgun in a car. Like, I have to be driving. Otherwise, I get motion sick. So we did the more intense one. And, you know, they had the little waiting room where Disney gives a whole little spiel. You know, this is what this ride is. And then the video ends, but they're not letting us into the actual ride area yet. And it's because they had to clean up vomit from the last people that were in there.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the worst decision of my life. Fortunately, stick my head to the back of the thing, just kind of close my eyes and try not to scream, and it worked out fine.
Yeah, I love roller coasters. I was at Cedar Point a few months ago, and the car in front of us, somebody vomited, and yeah, that's just a bummer, dude. Like, and then they make that car go around a few times to like dry it off, and then by the time that car's in use again, the people who end up sitting in it didn't see what happened.
Yeah.
But like we knew who got in the puke seat, and we're all like pointing at the guy, and like
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but I really love roller coasters and theme parks like that. I do think it's rough how at places like Disney, like they don't really give you the like, hey, this is really intense, might not be suitable for kids until you're in that room that you're like 5 minutes away from the ride. So you've waited for like an hour and now your 3-year-old's gonna bail out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like just those rooms should happen before you get in line for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so the last time I went to Disney, I mean, in fairness, like, at least in Disneyland, most of the rides are pretty tame. I can't imagine too many kids.
Disneyland is not like Disney World, though, right? Like, Disney World is a bunch of theme, like, roller coasters and...
Not really. I mean, so, like, Disneyland, there's 2 parks. Disney World, there's basically, like, 4. You know what I mean?
Okay, so Disneyland is in California and Disney World's in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only been to the Disney World.
Yeah, Disney World's a lot bigger. And I mean, there's some, like, I know Rock and Roller Coaster, that one's like a more traditional roller coaster. Disneyland really just has one. That's the California Screamin'. That's like their only, like, actual roller coaster.
Yeah, Cedar Point, I don't know if you've ever, probably not, like, if you don't love thrill rides, but it's the roller coaster capital of the world.
Boy.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's not for me.
That was great because me and my girlfriend went there on a weekday before school had let out.
Nice.
So it wasn't too hot, but it was actually a warm day for May in Ohio, and but you know, living in Phoenix, this 80 degrees felt like nothing.
Yeah.
So it was extremely nice, and we had almost the whole park to ourselves. Like we didn't wait for anything more than 20 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's honestly the worst part of Disney parks is the crowdedness.
How much is a ticket into Disneyland?
Oh boy. So the last time I went with the wife, we got 2-day park hoppers, so we could go to California Adventure and Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And I want to say it was about $250 per. So yeah, so 500 total. Yeah.
That's in California though. So like in reasonable money. That's probably if that park was in the middle of one of the Dakotas, it probably would have been like $100.
Yeah.
Goth baby.
Oh boy.
Once I scraped my knee in 3rd grade, and a weird girl who was obsessed with horses was like, hold on. Then she started crying and dropped tears on my knee. Then she was like, Pegasus tears heal wounds.
Sounds unsanitary. I don't know. I believe it. I don't think it's that funny.
You think that a girl in 3rd grade could cry on command?
Yeah, dude.
That quickly?
Well, I mean, did they say how quick? Did they say?
No, they didn't say how quickly, but I'm just thinking like the reasonable attention span for a 3rd grader that is injured is not 2 minutes for them to wait for this girl to muster up some tears.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's a future actress. She knows how to cry on command.
Obviously not, because she was a weird girl who was obsessed with horses. I took a dump in my grandma's cat's litter box when I was 13, and my whole family was wilding out trying to figure out why the cat took such a huge dump. Then they took her to the vet, and we found out she has feline HIV, so in a way, I helped her. And then someone comments, this story was wild from start to finish. I say that whenever I'm making fun of someone, when like someone's telling a story that doesn't quite come off with the amount of enthusiasm that they originally intended. That was a wild roller coaster of a ride, just start to finish there. I gotta hang on to my eyebrows. That's it. Like I don't ever say that was a wild ride start to finish, seriously.
Yeah.
This didn't happen though, because you would confess to it before they took the cat to the vet.
Would you?
Maybe Brian wouldn't. Okay. That's why I thought
if you're committed to a prank. Well, they didn't really say if it was a prank or not. They just said they took a dump in a litter box.
One thing that I wouldn't do for a prank was let other people start spending money.
I mean, how old did they say they were?
I was 13.
13? I mean, do you really understand money when you're 13? Not really.
Okay, Brian says that it absolutely happened. Oh man, this one is hard to read. So, I just hopped in the shower. It got really stuffy, so I opened the bathroom window. I continue my shower as normal until a bird flew in the window and started flying around the bathroom, knocking stuff over on the counter and ramming into the mirror. Out of shock, I stepped back and slipped on a bottle of shampoo and smacked face first into the warm bathtub floor. When I regained consciousness, the bird continued to ruin the bathroom and run into the mirror. At this point, we are now 30 seconds into the ordeal, so it starts to hurt itself. The bird gives up and lands on the counter, obviously bewildered, so I get out of the shower butt naked and walk over to the counter. It stares at me and I stare back at it. I tell the bird that there is no freaking way I'm touching him, so he should fly out the still open window. He clearly does not understand, so I am left with a choice. I grab the bird in my towel and carry it outside, still naked. I make it outside and decide that I need to walk the bird at least a few feet from my door so it doesn't fly inside. As I step out there, my always absent neighbors choose a wonderful time to pull into their driveway, which is overlooking mine. So here I am, naked, with a towel in my hands and not around me. In my driveway at this point, I release the towel so the bird can escape, and the neighbors finally understand what happened. As I release the towel, the bird falls lifeless to the floor.
All right, that's kind of funny. I don't know how believable it is.
Why wouldn't you just push it out the window from which it came?
Yeah, and also, like, they mentioned that they were knocked out but for only 30 seconds. Like, I feel like if you fall hard enough on a shower floor and knock yourself out, you're going to be out for a little while, I imagine. Maybe not. Actually, scratch that. I've lost consciousness for about 30 seconds before. I guess I can believe. But yeah,
when have you lost consciousness for 30 seconds?
It was I wrestled in high school, and
can you show us some moves?
Sure, maybe.
All right.
I wrestled in high school, and my coach was showing the team a move, and he used me as the example. I had no idea what the move was. I was young. And basically just my knee kind of buckled and I fell like face first into the wrestling mat with like my grown adult coach's weight just kind of like on top of me.
That'd been way scarier for him than it was for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it knocked me out cold for us, for probably like 30, 40 seconds.
So you were knocked out cold for 30, 40 seconds, and you can't believe that someone else
No,
was?
that's why I said I believe it. I changed my mind. Like,
okay.
Initially, I was like, I don't know how believable that is, but then I thought to my own experiences, and I was like, all right, fair enough. But yeah, like I said, everything else about it seems pretty outlandish.
I can believe that the bird would just fall because they don't have like diaphragms the way humans do. Mm-hmm. So birds, if you like push on their chest, you can just push all the air. You can like KO any bird almost instantly.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why like if you ever, I remember there's this one viral video of an owl that got stuck in somebody's like camping equipment or something, mm-hmm. and the guy was grabbing it, trying to get it free, and a few minutes in, he's like, oh, look, it has now calmed down. It was because he had pushed all the air out of it as he was like holding it, trying to get it loose. That actually happened to me. I was trying to do some maintenance on my parakeet, and this was when I had first gotten her. Her wings or beak was too long or something, and I just held her a little too tight, and she was like motionless for a little bit. Very scary, but she popped back up.
Dang, that's scary. All right, wait. So you're the bird expert. Is it true you can't feed like uncooked rice to birds? Like the urban legend I always heard as a kid was like, you feed uncooked rice to a bird and it explodes. Is there?
I feed my birds bird food.
Well, no, because it was like it's that whole thing. Like they throw like I don't know uncooked rice or whatever at like weddings or whatever, just like. And
then I need to put some uncooked rice on my lawn, dude, because every time I try to put grass seed on my lawn, there are about 1,000 birds there the next morning.
But what if they die? What if you just have like 1,000 exploded dead birds on your lawn?
In some green grass the next day, I'll take it. What the? Dude, there's so many birds out there. I mean, okay, maybe if I knew that this is going to cause them a horrible death, I don't want to do it. But I say this with like dogs all the time. Like if somebody has a dog that like won't stop yapping, just like constantly barks or it bites or it doesn't listen. If there is one thing wrong with this dog and you've had it for more than like a year and it's not going to be trained out of it, that's just the way the dog is. Mm-hmm. There are so many perfect dogs waiting in a pound or a shelter right now. Give a different one a chance to be good, man. Like if you're one of the lucky dogs that gets adopted by a family and you can't get it together and all you do is like bark constantly or jump on people, like I'm sorry, man. Like there's some dog that is going to get put into a fire next week that doesn't do that. So
I mean, you could also call Caesar Milan.
The guy with the beard?
Yeah, dude, the dog whisperer.
Doesn't he do cats?
No. The cat guy is... There is a cat guy, but... some other dude.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not thinking of Caesar Milan. I'm thinking of the guy... He's got like the thick-looking, very hip glasses. You can tell he thinks...
He's bald.
Yeah, with the beard that he shaves like an Adidas stripe into.
Yep, that guy.
He's the cat one.
Yeah, he's the cat one.
Okay. Platosaurus says, this one time I ran a red light on mistake and I didn't notice it was red until it was too late, so I just ran the light screeching like an angry pterodactyl the entire time. A cop was at the intersection, so he pulled me over, and when he came up to my window, he was wheezing because he was laughing so hard, and he said, okay, so I know you ran a red light and that's really bad and you should never do it again, but I'm not going to give you a ticket because that was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and my partner can't get out of the car because he's laughing so hard he's about to pee himself. I forgot I had my window open when I ran the red light, and the cop told me that all he heard from my car was this really high-pitched and that's how I got out of getting a ticket for running a red light.
All right, that's pretty funny. I guess it's believable. I mean, I guess. I don't know. Like, I've met cops that are pretty lax.
Yeah. Unless their quota is about due.
Yeah, well, then you're just up a creek. I've definitely run red lights by accident before, so I do believe that part.
Man, the thing with red lights is I don't think that yellows are long enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, by the time you see a yellow, it's often like you would have to slam on your brakes to not run a red light.
Yep.
You know, so honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just a way to like entrap people. I mean,
yeah,
like they're I don't know. I've never got pulled over for running a red light, but I feel like there are so many situations, like 99, almost 100%. I've never run one on purpose, no matter how much of a hurry I'm in. Every single time, it's because it like turns yellow and I don't have enough time to read. So it probably turned red like as I was already through the intersection. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when there's like a crosswalk, I usually look at that almost as much as the actual light, because obviously if it's like blinking down to like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's going to flip soon. But yeah, when there's no crosswalk, I do feel like more often than not, I'd rather run the red than like slam my brakes and mess up my brakes or my tires. Yeah.
Comedian Gallagher, his joke about red lights was, do you ever see a yellow and start to speed up to accelerate to beat the light through it, and then the guy in front of you chickens out? Actually, man, there is one time where I just blatantly went through a red light. I just had a brain fart where I was at an intersection turning left, and there was absolutely nobody around me, and my brain just went, okay, like right on red, whatever, except I was turning left. But where I'm from, it's a really small town of like 3,000 people, maybe 5,000. It's as small as you can possibly get while still having a hospital and a police force. But with that few people, there is like no real crime. Yeah. So I have been pulled over, I think twice in my life outside of that town. And I've never gotten a ticket in that town, but it's probably been like 10 times that I've gotten pulled over just because like I remember I was like 19 at the time and super just like upset. Like at that age, you don't really want to be talking to the cops and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say I had reached adult maturity yet. And so like me and my friend were at a bar and we were eating. They have the best chicken in town, whether it's chicken fingers or chicken wings, but we were there eating, and neither one of us were either old enough to drink, nor did we drink. But when I left, I got followed out of the parking lot and then pulled over like immediately once I got away from there. And they told me it was because I didn't turn my lights on when I left. And I realized like after they had walked away from the car that the car I was driving, the lights turn on automatically, like as soon as the keys are in the ignition. Okay. And so they just said, because they saw somebody leaving a bar, okay, we got a chance to pull someone over because they are coming out of a bar at 10 or 11 and shouldn't be driving after they're drinking. We need to make some bullcrap reason up to pull them over. And, I was intimidated and young and not thinking straight at the time, and I didn't mention that to them. I didn't think about it until after.
Yeah, the one and only time I've ever been pulled over was probably a cop that had to make quota, and it was the dumbest thing. So I'm driving to work, and technically, I was going above the speed limit. Like I think the speed limit in California on the highway was almost 55. But it's California. Everyone drives 70. Yeah. So I was like, okay, there's a dozen other cars going way fast, 70 or 80. I was going about 70, and other cars going 80. I was like, all right, it's like every other car is going like faster than me. Like that can't be it. So I pull over, and the reason the dude pulled me over is because I still had paper plates, but my car was dirty because it's a white car, so obviously it's going to get dirty quicker.
Right.
And I had a long commute, so yeah, it's going to look dirty. And yeah, he pulled me over, and his logic was, only new cars have paper plates. Yours looks dirty and used. That's usually the sign of a stolen car. And that just wasn't the case. I just didn't have my proper plates yet. And yeah, that was, I mean...
So did you get a ticket or anything?
Nah, I mean, there was nothing to ticket me for. You know.
Well, I mean, you were speeding.
I guess, but that would have been a pretty douchebag move if considering everyone else was going like 10 miles faster than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was the only time I've ever been pulled over, and it was terrifying because like it's the first and last time I've been pulled over, and just talking with a cop when you don't know what you did.
Yeah.
And I was pretty young at the time. I was probably like 21, 22, so I was still super young, and yeah, it scared the living daylights out of me.
Today I took the bus to work. A sweet old lady got on after and sat next to me. Halfway there, she fell asleep, her head on my shoulder. I gently tried to wake her up before my stop. She wasn't sleeping. I let a dead woman lie on me for 30 minutes, FML.
All right, that shouldn't be funny, but
I don't think it's that funny. I really don't have a problem believing it. Like, people have to die on the subway. Like, just the sheer amount of people that are on the subway or bus. Whatever.
You think that? I mean, I have such little experience with subway or subway. Like, there's no subways in Hawaii, so you're not gonna ever hear about anything like that in the news. Like, does that actually happen? Like, people dying on the subways?
Well, anybody that like lives in Manhattan and are just normal people, aren't millionaires, they don't have a car.
Yeah. So
everybody, their main method of transportation is the bus or a subway.
Dang. Well, it's just like, all right.
There have to be like 1 million people every day on.
So you're saying like
bus.
people dying on a subway is just inevitable because of the sheer numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I always thought that was kind of like a joke.
I bet that there has to be 1 million people in New York City alone that use public transportation every day.
I thought it was one of those stories where it's like you hear about people buying like illegal alligators for pets and then dump them down into the sewer, and that's how you get sewer gator. I thought that was just one of those like urban myths type things. But
well, isn't that what's happening in Florida with the pythons?
What's happening in Florida with the pythons?
Is pythons get too big, so people just release them into the Everglades, and they're becoming like alpha predators.
Dang, I didn't hear about that.
Because I mean, they can just survive, like, and then strangle anything. I mean, my brother has a ball python, which isn't huge. It's maybe like, it's pretty big for a snake that's indoors, but it's not. If you saw a picture of it hanging from a tree in Africa, you wouldn't be impressed. Yeah. But it's like pretty big for something that's just in somebody's house.
That you keep in your room?
Yeah. Well, my brother keeps it in his room. So, I don't know, it's maybe 5 feet. And he says that he tries to feed it every 3 weeks, just like you're supposed to, and it hasn't eaten like 6 months. Yeah.
That doesn't seem good.
I don't know. He says it says it's not sick otherwise, and that he read online some people can have them go for a year.
Really? Pythons can go a year without eating? I find that very hard to believe.
All right, Brian, you tell a joke or something while I look this up.
All right. Oh, man, I'm no good at vamping. So, chicken crosses the road. All right, no, wait. That's not how it goes. Dude, hurry up. I'm really bad at this. I can only feel so much dead air. You gotta be getting close.
So some guy purposely withheld food from 62 different snakes for about 6 months and observed their metabolic rates.
Okay. That sounds kind of like a cruel experiment, but continue.
How snakes survive months without food. It's on livescience.com. They can lower their metabolic rates by up to 70%.
I mean, so even if they do that, that just seems hard to believe that any living creature can. Because like even when animals hibernate, like it's not for a year.
No,
like, it's for the winter season.
But think about something hibernating, or a cold-blooded animal. Like that's just not what humans do. But it doesn't mean that other things can't do it.
I guess.
Like especially as a Christian, I have no problem believing that God could create anything. Like if he somehow created an organism that required no food or nourishment ever, I would totally be able to believe it if that's just the way it had always been with that particular thing. You know what I mean? Like think about plants, dude. They're growing and all they use for nourishment is sunlight.
But that's still something. Like that's photosynthesis. Like they're still converting energy. Like I just struggle to see how a snake. Like I mean, maybe 6 months I can kind of believe, but like a whole year, like that, I don't know. I struggle to see how a snake can survive.
The next one, is this incest?
Oh boy.
Okay. I don't know if this is actually incest since it wasn't something actually sexual in the technical sense, but here goes. You done? When I was little, my mom used to put a butt plug in me, which she called a poop plug, and I'd wear it all the time. I was only told to take it out to poop, wipe my butt, then put it back in. I was really young, so I thought this was just something everybody did, but one time at school, I dropped it when I flushed a toilet, and it ended up getting flushed. So when I went back to class, I told my teacher that my poop plug got flushed down the toilet. She had no idea what I was talking about, so she sent me to the school nurse. Well, after trying to explain what a poop plug was for 15 minutes, the school calls the police. The police ask me all these questions, and at first I'm scared because I think I'm in trouble for losing my poop plug. Turns out my mom has schizophrenia and was making me wear this butt plug so Satan couldn't stick his dick in my pooper and make me gay.
Oh, that's pretty ridiculous. I don't know how believable it is. Like a poop plug.
I believe that way more than this guy who says he didn't just put the bird back out the window.
Yeah.
This is way more believable to me than the woman farting up a storm.
No, it is not more believable to me than that.
What?
Heck no.
Brian,
heck no.
Have you heard somebody ever fart in an inappropriate scenario?
Of course.
Was it funny?
Yeah.
And you think that you and 12 other people witnessing somebody farting when they thought they were alone, the things that you do when you're alone, I would be mortified if anybody ever had footage of the way I fart when I'm alone.
Okay, but like, if it's if someone told me, like, let's say your girlfriend was throwing you a secret or a secret birthday party or whatever, and gave me explicit instructions. Hey, like, I'm gonna blindfold Ryan, sit him down, and when we take the blindfold off, it'll be a big surprise.
My girlfriend recently threw me a surprise party, and you didn't come. So this is already unbelievable to me.
Oh my gosh! Way to guilt trip me, dude. My dog was not feeling well. I had to take it to the
dog! I didn't know that was the reason. I just knew you weren't there.
Yeah. So anyways, if I was given explicit instructions not to make a peep, even if you just started farting, I think I'd find a way to...
If I start shifting my weight, lifting one cheek at a time and just fanning it about the room...
Yeah. Yes.
And you think that...
Because I don't want to be that guy who ruins your surprise party because I can't hold my laughter in. I don't want to be that guy. If someone else starts cracking up, I would definitely start cracking up, but I wouldn't be the first to do so.
And my husband is in the other room on the phone, who I can hear his conversation, but he can't hear these thunderclaps. Dude, there is no...
Hey, she was blindfolded, so that means her sense of hearing was sharpened.
There is no way that 12 people in a room could all witness somebody doing that and not have somebody react to the comedy or the smell of the situation. That is no. And the way that she tells the story, that the punchline is just right at the end.
Well, that's the point. That's how you tell a good story. I don't think.
Yeah, but that was too perfect. Like, that was clearly just a joke that was made up.
Is it?
All right.
Okay, so let's say I told you that story. You wouldn't believe me at all. Like, let's say I was the person.
No,
with
if somebody was face to face to me, honestly telling me that happened,
no chance of you believing it at all.
I would be skeptical at first, and if they could answer the obvious questions that I had about that, like, okay, so how did the husband not hear something? Brian, there is no... Think about how hard you were laughing just thinking about it. I guarantee you would have found it about 10 times funnier had you been there. Things are never as funny secondhand.
No, but see, like, if I was one of those 12 guests, like, that's just... Is that funny, or is that just, like, super awkward and mortifying? Like, okay, so if you're one of the 12 guests, you don't think there's any way, no chance, 0% chance that you could hold your laughter in, or not snicker or whatever.
I don't know, dude. I don't think that 12 people could all do that. Like, I don't know if I could or not, but I know that 12 people couldn't, because things are just funnier when there are other people with you. You know what I mean?
Okay, fine, but I still think that's more believable than a butt plug.
You ever seen or read Carrie?
Like the horror novel?
Yeah.
I haven't read it. I've seen it.
The one with John Travolta in it?
Sure. I saw it a long time ago.
That is something that the mom in that movie would do. Like,
yeah. I don't know. Just, I mean, I guess we also don't know when that, like, okay, so like a kid today, I can't see that happening to.
I don't know, dude. I mean, it was only like a few months ago that, or maybe like a year, that those parents had kept like 8 kids locked in the house, and some of them were as old as 18. You know what I'm talking about? That was in California.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty easy to brainwash children. Like, just imagine if you had a kid and you never showed it television, and then it was 5 years old and went to school. Like, his brain would blow out the back of his skull the first time he saw television. Like,
but that kid was in school. The Buttplug kid was in school. Allegedly was in school. Like, you don't think, like...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe people... I feel like if you're going to shelter your kid enough where, like, they think a butt plug is okay, you're not going to just send them off to school. Schizophrenia or no schizophrenia. I just struggle to believe that story. The fart story is way more believable. I'm sorry, man.
There is no way. Hang on, Brian, just tell me something.
All right, so Ryan's having me vamp again, which is a really bad idea because I'm bad at this. I think he's going to go ask.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Close the door, dude.
He's back.
All right, so we've got a guest. Okay, Dan, come on over here.
Oh boy.
All right, I'm going to read you 2 stories, right? And I need you to tell me which one is more believable. Brian, I gotta use your...
Okay, all right. I'll step aside.
All right, yeah, use your mic for a little bit.
This is going to be fun to edit.
Don't edit anything. Why are you editing anything?
We'll see.
This has all been gold.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to read you two. Brian and I are arguing over which one of these we think. You want to get in the photos?
What photo?
So everyone believes you're here.
What?
All right. Okay. So these are the web's funniest stories. Is this incest? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just someone posts this online.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Okay, I don't know if this is actually incest since it wasn't something actually sexual in the technical sense, but here goes. When I was little, my mom used to put a butt plug in me, which she called a poop plug, and I'd wear it all the time. I was told only to take it out to poop, wipe my butt, then put it back in. I was really young, so I thought this was just something everybody did, but one time at school, I dropped it when I flushed the toilet, and
How did you find my Reddit account?
I dropped it when I flushed the toilet and it ended up getting flushed. So when I went back to class, I told my teacher that my poop plug got flushed down the toilet. She had no idea what I was talking about, so she sent me to the school nurse. Well, after trying to explain what a poop plug was for 15 minutes, the school calls the police. The police ask me all these questions, and at first I'm scared because I think I'm in trouble for losing my poop plug. Turns out my mom has schizophrenia and was making me wear this butt plug so Satan couldn't stick his dick in my pooper and make me gay. Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe that actually happened?
Believe that it actually happened. Ooh. What board was this on?
I don't know. It looks like Yahoo Answers.
Yahoo Answers. I'll give it like a... I mean, I think it's got to be above 5. I would lean towards true because...
Okay.
Just because people are crazy, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So like...
And think about how many kids are raised and how many opportunities there are for parents to do something like this.
I would give it like a 6 or a 7.
Now, this is the one that Brian says is way more likely to be true. Okay?
All right.
During lunch at work last week, I ate 3 plates of beans, which I knew I shouldn't. When I got home, my husband seemed excited to see me and exclaimed delightedly, "Darling, I have a surprise for dinner tonight." He then blindfolded me and led me to my chair at the dinner table. I took a seat, and just as he was about to remove my blindfold, the telephone rang. He made me promise not to touch the blindfold until he returned and went to answer the call. The beans I had consumed were still affecting me, and the pressure was becoming unbearable. So while my husband was out of the room, I seized the opportunity, shifted my weight to one leg, and let one go. It was not only loud, but it smelled like a fertilizer truck running over a skunk in front of a garbage dump. I took my napkin from my lap and fanned the air around me vigorously. Then, shifting to the other leg, I ripped off 3 more. The stink was worse than cooked cabbage. Keeping my ears carefully tuned to the conversation in the other room, I went on releasing atomic bombs like this for another few minutes. The pleasure was indescribable. Eventually, the telephone farewell signaled the end of my freedom, so I quickly fanned the air a few more times with my napkin, placed it on my lap, and folded my hands back on it, feeling very relieved and pleased with myself. My face must have been the picture of innocence, because when my husband returned, apologizing for taking so long, he asked me if I had peeked through the blindfold, and I assured him I had not. At this point, he removed the blindfold, and 12 dinner guests seated around the table with their hands to their noses chorused, "Happy birthday."
So, I think both of those are pretty possible. But the second one was written more like obnoxiously, like some troll on Reddit.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I said. Like, they hid the punchline so well that, like, it was clearly someone writing for comedy. Yeah. So, like,
ripping atomic bombs all around.
Yeah. So, like, I maybe if I could see this happening to somebody, I wouldn't expect the average person to write it like this.
Yeah. Also, you would notice.
12 people?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that 12 people would be able to contain themselves while this was happening.
Well, there you have it.
All right. That's been Unpopular Opinions. I'm Brian Chai. That's Ryan Tofil. We'll see you next time.